All right, this is White Dogg Detroit, and I don't know where Sass is. I think Sass is missing in action. He's probably on his way. I see you tried to call me, but this is White Dogg Detroit, and I am here with a really good old friend of mine, Mr. Christopher Franchi from Metaluna 5 Media. If you guys out there aren't familiar with Christopher, he has done some of the most amazing artwork I've ever seen come out of...
Go on.
No, really, Chris. I mean... When I'll just put it out there. We went to high school. We went to prom together.
That's right. A little three-way prom deal.
Yeah, I know it was. But I've known you for a very long time, and even back in Mr. Music's class, in art class in high school, you were winning awards like crazy back then. Amazing artist, even when you were 18. It's a God-given talent you have. You've never really taken art classes or anything. And your detail and your artwork and the detail that goes into it is just amazing, Chris. I can't stop calling you Chris. I've been calling you Christopher.
Well, you know, it's funny.
I have to get over that.
Chris or Christopher doesn't matter because everybody in this town knows me as Franchi.
I know.
I don't go by my first name. I don't know why. I think Chris is just a popular name, and to differentiate me from other people, they just say Franchi, and it just kind of stuck.
I know. And I feel weird calling you Franchi because I've just known you for so long.
Well, no, don't. Call me whatever you call me, asshole, whatever.
We've got some really killer tunes lined up, too, that Chris wanted me to play that sort of inspire him. So we're going back to some old school days here. Chris, you knew at an early age that you had amazing talent. And you never spent a ton of money on fancy art school like me and went to CCS and all that crap. And I never really wound up doing that much with it, you know. Center for Creative Nonsense was more like it. And here you are, artist for KISS, NHL, you got a great movie poster deal that you're working on right now, all kinds of Batman stuff. How did you, especially with the NHL and KISS, how did you make those connections?
Network. Everyone always tells you that, and I'm from the outside looking in, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, network, great. Network with who? We go to the party store and talk to the dude, what else do you do besides stand behind the register, So
what did you do? Just send Gene Simmons an email one day and say, hey dude, I want to do artwork for you, or what? How did you meet Gene Simmons?
Working for KISS was interesting because I was a huge KISS fan as a kid.
Right.
And what had happened there was I got in touch with the last remaining pinball machine company in America, Stern in Chicago, and I said, you guys should do a KISS pinball machine because that's one of the most collectible machines from the 70s.
Right.
And I'm a big pinball fan, and my angle was why don't you guys get the license to do that? I can do the artwork, and so on and so forth. So they started pursuing it. I thought it was a good idea, and I did this artwork and sent it over to them. And they liked it and all that, but the licensing fell through. KISS, as always, wanted too much money. And they said, we can't afford it. I mean, we're barely getting by, as archaic as pinball is these days. Everybody's playing video games, they're not doing super well. So they couldn't iron out a licensing deal, so I had this artwork left over, and I'm like, well, that's awesome. What do I do with this? So I knew they had a website, and I'm like, I'll just send it into the fan gallery or whatever and get some mileage out of it. And I sent it in, and the guy who was running the website at the time, Mike Brandvold, he saw it, and he contacted me, and I think I just sent in Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, because that's the only artwork I had done. And he said, do you have Ace and Peter? And I said, no. And he's like, well, could you do them? And I'm like,
sure.
I suppose. Is there a paycheck involved? No. So, fuck it. So I went ahead and did it and sent them in, and he posted them. And I guess there was just a shit ton of fan response to that artwork. And I had designed it a particular way because back then they used to screen print the artwork on the pinball machines. So I'm like, I can't do this photorealistic kind of stuff. I have to develop this artwork that's in solid colors.
Right.
That could be, in a sense, screen printed. And so it was a particular style that I chose that was, realistic but solid colors, no shading. I just did shading with line work and whatnot, almost kind of comic bookish. And and just that particular style struck something with the Kiss fans and all that, and they thought it was really unique and my take on the band and whatnot. This is a really long answer.
It's all right.
But
hey, a lot of people over there love Kiss. They would love to know how you, met them.
So anyway, so a bunch of fan response to it. Somebody in the band saw it. I think it might have been Paul Stanley or Gene. I don't know. And they wanted to use the artwork. They wanted to license it. And like for branding on their products, because they do everything: Kiss toilet paper, Kiss dildo, whatever. You name it. There's a Kiss. It's Kiss
it's ridiculous. Yeah, Kiss toast.
So they wanted to use it for branding. So we worked out a licensing deal, and they're like, once I got in touch with their licensing department, they're like, "Well, what else you got?" I'm like, "Nothing."
Yeah.
I did that. Like, we'll work some stuff up. So I did a bunch of designs. In particular, we were working on T-shirts at the time. Just like retail stuff, something you'd buy in a T-shirt shop. And so they picked a ton of that stuff that they wanted to do. And, it was pretty much just a, piece-by-piece deal. We didn't have a contract or anything. We did have a licensing deal for what was known as the pop art drawings, those head drawings. And I just did a bunch of different things like that. And once they saw that stuff, they said, "Well, do you want to design tour shirts?" And I'm like, "Of course I do, because I get a paycheck."
Yeah.
And it's Kiss, who wouldn't? So I designed a bunch of tour shirts, and it kind of had the distinction of being like this like turnaround for Kiss merchandise, because at the time they were marketed as like a heavy metal band. And, your partner's here.
Yeah. And he has, oh my God,
this is for everyone.
Flowers.
Awesome. Those are hand-picked flowers, too, aren't they? Picked him at work. Nice, very nice.
Yeah.
So, where was I?
Oh, we're talking about Kiss and how you met these guys and how you started doing that for them.
Yeah. So tour shirts. What I think they really appreciated was I came in with a different angle. I'm like, you guys are like pop culture icons. You're not heavy metal. They were being marketed like you would market Ozzy or Black Sabbath or even any current band like Warrant or whatever, at the time. And I'm like, that's not what these guys are. These guys are like pop culture legends, Yeah. So my angle was completely different. I'm like, I'm not going to do, you guys standing there with lightning in the background and metal and, all this crap. I'm going to do a bunch of unique stuff,
Right.
I did them like in these cars, like the old Rat Think stuff. I did a drawing that looked like a pinball machine. So their license people said like this is like the best work and the best selling stuff that they've had in years. So I just kind of worked my way in that way and just started working for their magazine and doing all this different stuff. I was like kind of like their go-to guy for anything that they needed or anything they were looking to promote.
So you increased their merchandising significantly by how great your artwork is.
Well, either that or how unique my approach was. I'm not sure, but yeah. So to answer your question, I fell into it. It was just sheer luck and
well, I don't think it was sheer luck. Because
a little bit of tenacity.
You're awesome, and no, I'm not sitting here blowing sunshine up your ass. I'm really not. You are awesome, Chris, and the fact that they noticed your artwork doesn't surprise me one bit. And the NHL, how did you hook up at the NHL?
Where I was working at the time.
I remember that place.
I was working for this guy in Livonia. I've always wanted to keep a day job. It's just for stability. Artists are a different breed, and if I didn't have like a 9-to-5er, I would just be sleeping all day, watching cartoons and whatever. So always liked having stability of a day job. And I was working for this guy that I had done some work for. And his business was hockey autographs. So I was like photographing all of this, signed hockey gloves and sticks and whatnot, doing graphics for his website and all that. Started meeting the players. And he was connected with the NHL and whatnot. And that's kind of how that started. Again, it's just falling into something, and that's what I mean by networking. It's like not taking advantage of people, but taking advantage of who and, who they're connected with and what you can make out of that. People just tend to sit on their ass and wait for shit to fall in their lap, and it doesn't happen. They're going to the store with their bridge card and going, how do I'm not successful? Because you sit on your ass. You got to go out and you got to grab it. And with everybody that I've met and who they've known, that's what I do. figure out, it's not using people. It's just, you benefit somebody in the long run, but it helps your career. You just go out and grab it.
Yeah. We have Sass in the house here.
We got to raise this up a bit. Hi, guys.
How you doing, sir?
There we go.
So basically, you had already a vision going on, and you have your talents of what it sounds like is very multi-level skills. It's not just one medium; it's many different mediums. And you had a vision, and along the way, you met some really good people that already were doing what they're good at doing, and everybody came together and believed in one another. And that's the magic of the network, and who you run into, you never know.
Right.
Like here we are right now. It's a pleasure to meet you, man.
Right.
I enjoy your work.
Thank you, sir, and thanks for the flowers. Very nice. I didn't know you cared.
So, Christopher, you are an absolute perfectionist to the point of almost being OCD. You have been your whole life, and it shows in your artwork. It shows in the detail in your artwork. How does that affect your relationships?
It only shows in my artwork. Just check out my hairdo today.
I know. Yeah, but I've seen pictures of your apartment, and everything isn't like perfect. Like,
it's not always. I think that's why I took pictures. Like, it looks really nice right now. Let's capture the moment before I fuck it all up. But, in my artwork, I spend a lot of time. I've always just kind of believed that if my name's going to go on the bottom of this thing, it's going to be the best I can put out. How that affects my relationships is honestly not at all. No, because I'm not that way with women.
Like if somebody leaves a coffee ring on the kitchen counter, you don't freak out on them.
Well, you'd have to have a relationship for that to take effect.
Yeah.
And that's something ever since my divorce 12 years ago I haven't managed to nail down. As far as that goes, no. Perfectionism is, in a sense of, what I look for and all that, non-existent. I'm kind of a big underdog fan. If there's like 3 girls sitting there and I'm with my buddies and they're like going, check her out. I'm always looking at the one that they least like and going, I think she's kind of cute.
Oh, hi. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm not picky when it comes to that. I'm not really turned on by 10s, because of the baggage and bullshit that goes with it.
Yeah.
I don't want to kiss anybody's ass. I just want to have fun and get through life and, have a good time and all that. And I don't want to be worried about, well, am I sucking up to her enough to please her so that, because she feels she deserves this and that, and it's a bunch of horse shit.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't affect my relationships whatsoever. I'm not that finicky around the house. I leave plenty of coffee rings laying around the house. I get home, I walk into my home office, and I take off my T-shirt and just whip it in the doorway. I'll kick it to the laundry room later. I'm not that bad.
Do you remember? I don't know if you remember this, but right after you and another friend of ours turned me on to Dead or Alive and Peter Murphy and whatnot. Do you remember me shaving the side of my head right before you've seen your pictures?
Absolutely.
You and Todd shaved the side of my head, and then I had the big long Prince thing on the other side. It was awesome.
The waterfall.
I go to get my senior pictures taken and go to prom, and my mom just about died.
Weren't you you were positioned in a chair with this big yellow? Do you have a yellow dress?
Something like that. It was red and white. Yes.
You tried to mask it by kind of making dog ears of hair that came down on the sides. I remember that.
Oh man! But then after I did that, everybody else in our high school shaved their head on the side.
Yeah, funny how that
started
happens.
The trend.
Yeah.
I remember some asshole in school. I was so into trying to be different that I made my own pants. I went and bought these pants and I customized them with all this crap, and then some dickhead stole them out of my locker, and then he had the nerve to wear them a couple days later. I'm like, dude, I made those pants. You didn't go to merry-go-round and pick them up,
Yeah. Oh, my God. I remember that story.
Punch the dude in the face. He's like, you want them back? And I'm like, your dick was in them. I do not want them back. No.
You were the first guy to walk around with paint splattered all over your pants. And then the rest of our high school started doing that.
Yeah.
What's really funny is that we were a little bit on the outcast side in school. We weren't the preppy kids, and there were quite a few preppy kids in our school. We were more punk looking, especially after I shaved the side of my head, or you and Todd did. Is it kind of funny now, looking back at some of the people that gave us shit in high school, and now they realize, your success, and if you run into those people and all of a sudden they're really nice to you?
No, I don't. When I was in high school, to my face, I didn't get a lot of shit. You know, I really can't recall like walking through the halls and having somebody go, "Who fucking asshole," you know.
Yeah.
Well, I was 6'5" in high school. You know, not too many people are going to take that chance.
Mess with
but,
you, yeah.
But I wasn't threatening, you know, in high school either.
Right.
So, but
You weren't the bully.
no, not at
No.
all. I had the fortune. I was just talking about this with somebody the other day. I had the good fortune of making a progression from like the dude that had the chain wallet and the AC/DC shirt to wearing the polo shirt, to wearing the more new wave kind of black and white stripes and things, and then kind of segueing into punk with the ripped jeans and the black leather. So making friends along the way, you know, and if they're good friends, they'll support you and all that. You won't lose them because you changed your hair and all that. So I was in with all the cliques, the burnouts, the jocks, the preps, you know, all of that stuff. I had friends in all of those different groups. So I never had anybody giving me shit for looking that way, you know, and I think being an artist helps because they're just like, well, you know,
he's an artist.
yeah, everybody just thinks I go home and stand on my head and juggle plates with my feet and all that because I'm an artist, you know. It's like I shit just like you do.
Did your parents ever kind of give you a hard time about wanting to be an artist, worrying that you were going to be a starving artist?
My parents, hi mom and dad. In California, better be listening or I'll kick you in the nuts.
Yeah.
No, my dad never discouraged me, but I think he was always disappointed that I wasn't like, my dad's like the Thing from Fantastic Four. You know, he's like this giant dude with cinder block hands, and he busted his ass all of his life to you know,
Hard labor.
Yeah. To provide for his family, he worked really hard, and his hands, like, you know, he could just sit there and hold fire in his hands; it wouldn't burn him.
Did he do concrete? What kind of work?
He was excavator, just digging basements,
All the
pouring
pipes.
cement, stuff like that. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. You know, I mean, he actually got down in there. He's
I
as
had to do
big
that
as
once.
me.
We saw a dude get like buried in the manhole, and we had to like dig him out. It was like all crazy. Like that's hard work, man.
It is.
Yeah, it sucks. So I think his attitude was always like maybe he was a little disappointed that I wasn't a manly kind of, you know, breaking rocks kind of dude.
Right.
My brother followed in his footsteps. He worked with him for many years, you know, in the family business and all that, and I didn't. He never looked down on me for it. I just think maybe he was a little disappointed, you know, about that, and maybe a little discouraging. Like, you ain't gonna make a living doing that, you know, because at the time we didn't know what graphic design was. We just saw people selling paintings in a gas station on the way to Cedar Point, and he thought that's what I was going to become, you know.
Yeah.
My mom was a lot more supportive, and my Aunt Teresa, she was an artist. She used to. She found pleasure in recreating paintings that already existed, which was always kind of odd to me, but she did it very well, you know?
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't know that. I'm just like, wow, look at my aunt doing these cool paintings. And like later on, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. I've seen that. But they used to, my aunt in particular would, like, every birthday, every Christmas, I would just get a cornucopia of art supplies, pastels, acrylic paint, all that stuff, just to keep me encouraged and all that. So they... you know, my mom and my aunt really are what kind of kept me involved with it. So,
God, I used to love getting those new art supplies. It was like kid in a candy store.
Yeah, and you could really appreciate them because they always left the price tag on them, and you're like $28 for like this little set of, you know, oil crayons. Are you kidding me? I didn't want to use them. I'm like, you know, when they're gone, I can't replace them.
What was that place called at like Schoolcraft and Farmington Road?
Northwest Blueprint.
Yeah.
Northwest Blueprint. Yeah, I used to love going there. It was like my candy store.
I know it was.
How many different mediums would you say that you can do now? After all these years of just working on your art and...
You know, when I got into commercial art earlier, I had, you know, a couple of teachers in high school that kind of took me under their wing, and they kind of saw great things for me. And they kind of taught me that, you know, with artists these days that, you know, not as a graphic designer, but as an artist, like, you know, locally there's like, you know, Niagara, Glenn Barr. I don't think he lives here anymore. Glenn does, but they all have very distinctive styles. And I never wanted to do that. I never wanted to be the kind of guy who was doing the paintings in the gallery and all that, you know.
Right.
Not that I've got anything against it, just wasn't what I was interested in, you know. It was too focused, too narrow. And I'm sorry, I have to look at you more. I keep on looking at Lori.
She's beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Well, don't sell yourself short, sir. Anyway, so I always made it a point to never focus on one particular medium, because I thought,
Anything you can get your hands on, you just
if somebody wanted to draw your lips in a cigarette, they call Niagara.
Right.
That's what she does. Whatever.
Portrait
Her
type
style. I'm kind of making it sound a little more narrow than it is, but I always thought, well, if somebody could come to me because they wanted a cartoon or a painting or a pen and ink drawing or something commercial or something crazy or whatever like that, if they could get all of that from me, I could service a greater amount of people, thus making me more money, and then I would eventually have my own Batcave.
You're thinking from a business perspective, correct?
Yeah. I thought early on graphic design. That was my thing, not fine art, but graphic design. Even though there's some crossover there, especially now later on in my career, I'm doing a lot of painting kind of things. Like movie poster type stuff and all that, which would be considered fine art, but it's the subject matters.
Do you do a lot of stuff with like prints versus just one original and that's kind of it, or?
Nowadays, I'm always kind of thinking, because I got early on, I got into like licensing and merchandising and all that. I kind of think along those lines, like
prints is going to be something you can maximize more.
Yeah, if I did a drawing, of a lamp, who's going to want a print of that? But if I did a drawing of a creature from the Black Lagoon, I can think of a lot of people who would want that. So, and I'd rather draw that anyway. I'm like I'm a 6 foot 5, 12-year-old.
Did you hear about the Orion Festival that just happened over here in Belle Isle?
Yeah. Well, I knew about it.
Yeah. Well, I went down there on Sunday and I caught some of the art, and they had a really cool booth. This guy was up from Texas. And he did a lot of celebrity style paintings and stuff, different mediums, but he had all kinds of cool stuff. And he ended up coming up and talking. But he incorporates a lot of that style with his own little style into it, his own touch, using like a person, musicians, actors, all kinds of different level of artists per se.
See, but the thing is, I think a lot of times too, if you're sitting in a booth, you're almost kind of demonetizing some of your artwork in a way. If you're sitting in a booth,
it kind of becomes a garage sale sort of feeling. Like, please buy some art.
I could never see Chris sitting in a booth, like at the Ann Arbor Art Fair or anything. It's just not you.
I like the distance. I like the distance of creating something, throwing it out there, and people appreciate it.
Show, having art out,
It would be great to have your art out at a really cool rock show, though.
Yeah, man, have it art and music combined kind of thing. It'd be really cool.
Yeah, you know what? There's just not enough time in the day.
I know.
Too busy. There's all kinds of things I would love to do.
But what a lot of people don't realize, though, is a lot of your artwork that's online. If anybody wants to see some of Christopher's artwork, I have quite a bit of it on my WhiteDoggDetroit.com website. WhiteDoggDetroit.com. In fact, I've gotten more interest in people emailing me over the years asking how to get a hold of you than I think anybody else on that site.
Mostly women.
But what people don't realize is a lot of your stuff, it's not Photoshop. This is all stuff that's like hand illustrated by you.
Right.
And how do you think Photoshop has changed the art community? I mean, it seems like anybody out there with Photoshop thinks they're a graphic designer. And
it's kind of like painters.
There's good points and there's bad points to Photoshop. I think, let's start with the bad, and then we can end on a happy note with Photoshop. The bad thing about Photoshop is just created a sea of hacks out there. People who get a bootleg copy, and then they just think like they can go onto Google, find some 300 or 72 DPI 2-inch by 2-inch image of Spock or whatever like that, and then they blow it up and they hit it with a filter and they go, look, I just made pop art.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to diss anybody's idea of what they think art is, but to me, that's shit. That's like you stole somebody's image, you hit a filter button, you didn't do anything unique. I mean, those tools are there for a reason, and I don't, and it's for people like that. I've spent a lot of time trying to utilize Photoshop in very unique ways. So I think the bad things is it creates a lot of hacks out there that just make bullshit art. And I think, and two other things. One, I would say that it has also created a lack of physical art. I've always
I
liked
agree.
finding things online where it's like, look, here's the original art from this coloring book from 1976 or like that. Nowadays, there's no original art that's laying around because people are just doing stuff on Photoshop. So
It's true.
There's a lack of that, and I think,
and like a lack of good rendering, a lack of detail.
it's just
I
like a
love
crutch.
layers.
Yeah.
Layers are really cool when you really start stacking it and building it and shading or coloring. And
Right.
But there's a huge lack of good rendering and detail out there. I'm shocked right now at the amount of. There's some students I've seen coming out of art school that can't draw, and all they do is use Photoshop. And while there is some legitimacy to design skills using Photoshop, I mean, if you're a good designer, it's going to show whether you're using Photoshop or whether you're doing hand illustrations.
Right. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you're going to call yourself an artist, you should still be able to draw and paint.
Yeah, it always starts with a concept, and if you have no concept, you have no vision, you don't have shit. You're starting from zero, and
gotta have a plan.
Yeah,
my dad always told me that. You gotta have a plan.
My dad always said, "Put that pencil down and get a shovel, son." I think the other worst thing that I really notice, because I'm a big cinema fan, is how shitty movie posters are these days.
Oh, I know.
It's the the classic 5 heads. Here's the 5 people in the movie. They're all standing looking at you. Usually the lighting doesn't match because they've taken it from different parts of the movie. So one image, the light's coming from the left, the other one's coming from the right, and it just looks like shit. That's it. That's is that supposed to draw me in and make Drew Struzan's one of my heroes.
Because they never grew up drawing, so they didn't understand what a light source is supposed to do on a piece of.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
People just don't care too. They're just like,
they don't
just
get
knock
it.
it out. I don't want to spend $10,000 on a movie poster. Well, why not? That's your major marketing thing there. That's what's going to. People see the poster and go, I want to go see that. Do you see a poster with 5 heads on it? I go, I want to go see that. I'm like, no, that guy's a douche. That chick's a bitch. I don't want to see that movie.
Exactly. It's true.
Yeah,
it's true. So and movie posters they used to be so much better, to the point where you'd walk into a movie store or a video store and be like, when you guys are done with it, can I have it?
I used to do that all the time.
Record stores too, with album artwork and stuff. You'd walk into an album record store and be like, oh, I want that poster. Here's my contact. Please give me a call when you guys are done using that. And you still hold true to that level of detail and
craftsmanship.
Craftsmanship. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. Because that's what I'm a fan of, So that's I don't. If somebody came to me and said, we want to do a movie poster, will you do it? And I said, do you want 5 heads on it? No, I'm not going to do it.
Exactly.
We'll pay you $5,000. I don't care. It's just why waste?
Well, to everyone out there listening, my White Dog Detroit logo, you're like, what do you want? I'm like, show an injured dog and make it look like Detroit. That's all I told you. And I kind of have an idea of what I wanted. And that 2 days later, I get the most kick-ass freaking logo back. And I'm like, I love you. I love it. And it's really, I mean, anybody out there, you guys take a look at Metaluna 5 Media. Look up Christopher Franchi on Facebook. If you want to see,
Metaluna 5 Media is not a website.
It's not on
Facebook.
On
Facebook
right,
as well.
Right.
Metal. I should probably spell that.
METALUNA 5,
Yes.
the number 5
The
media.
number 5, Metaluna. Everyone always asks me, what is that? Or they think it's Metal Una.
No.
Like it's some German dance show, with heavy metal music. And no, it's Meta
Luna.
It means beyond the moon. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm a big moon fan.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, if you're going to shoot for the stars, that's beyond the moon, right? So
absolutely.
The 5 was my hockey number all through my life. So I just thought it sounded like a rocket, the Metaluna 5.
I love it, and I love the logo for that too as well. We haven't done anything that I don't like. Let's put it that way. Let's take a little break here.
I've done some things I don't like.
We've got some tunes here in the queue that Christopher picked out for the show that inspire him, and we're gonna take a little break, and we'll be back in just about 5-10 minutes.
See ya.
And we're back. This is White Dogg and Sass. Mr. Sass Man in the house. And we're here with Christopher Franchi. So, next question, Christopher. Mr. Franchi.
Just call me handsome.
I'll do that. I can do that.
No, don't do that.
So, what are you currently working on at the moment?
You. No.
Awesome. Hello.
What am I working on at the moment? I am lots of stuff. I was telling you earlier, my bucket list, not on the radio, but off the air, I was telling you about my bucket list of things that I wanted to do in my career. The last two of them came true in the span of about 3 days apart. One of them was, I'm a huge Batman fan, which I know sounds kind of trendy to say these days, but I have.
You've been a Batman fan since you were a kid, all about Batman.
In the yearbook, there's a picture of me holding these little Batman figures. You're just an idiot. Yeah, I probably am. But so I always wanted to do something officially licensed, like some, you can draw a Batman all you want. It doesn't mean shit. To me, it was like, it's got to be something real that, that gets printed and gets out there.
Right.
And I just signed a deal through Warner Brothers and Mobius, which is a model kit company that makes figural models, not cars, but monsters and whatnot.
Yeah.
To do retro style box art for model kits of the old Batman TV show from '66, Adam West and Burt Ward and Batman and Robin and Catwoman, all the.
You've got to be in your glory doing that.
All the classics.
I'm sure.
Yeah, we all grew up on.
I pinch myself.
Yeah.
So I just signed on to do that when I'm sanctioned with Warner Brothers, so I can do artwork for Warner Brothers. I also just designed the official hockey stick for the Winter Classic, which will be here in Detroit.
What's that?
In January, the outdoor hockey game.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
like an all-star outdoor hockey game. It's infamous in the hockey world for sure.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's called the Winter Classic. They're doing it outdoors at the big house in Ann Arbor.
Ann Arbor,
so
okay.
It's a big NHL thing. It's on New Year's Day. They televise it on Channel 4 or whatever like that.
I wonder how much tickets are going to be.
Tickets are probably already sold out.
I'm sure they are. I mean, it is. It's almost like the prom for hockey for the NHL. You're also working on some stuff for Pistol Day Parade as well.
Pistol Day Parade.
No
they just recorded their new album. The industry buzz on the feedback from the final master, is that it's incredible, and then there's probably 5 solid hits on there, so that they've finally reached that, because I always thought before I started working on them, I always liked them. I always thought they had a really good commercial sound.
Yeah, they played our launch party.
Yeah.
We used to open up for them a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys I'm playing with.
Yeah.
Great band.
So the company that I work for, local record company, Goomba Records. Hi, Greg and Laura. 2 of my favorite people. They just signed Pistol Day Parade, and so I just did a photo shoot with them, and working on their CD package right now, which the name of the album, I think I can tell it. The name of the album is called Burn, and it should be out in September. I actually came up with the guys from the band came in, and they're like, what's the title of the album? Because, visually I want to start getting some wheels going. They're like, we don't have one. And he said, Fuller, the singer, said something that's had the word burning in it. And it was this really long thing, and I'm just like, that sounds like a Pink Floyd. No, but for some reason the word burn, because I thought, well, you could get burned by a woman, you could get burned in a financial deal, you could burn your hand, whatever. Right. Flashbulbs burn, so many different meanings, and I thought, reading the lyrics to the songs and stuff like that, this just kind of seems perfect to me and all that, and everybody kind of bought into it, so that's my phone going off. Sorry, I don't even know where the phone is. I can't
SOS.
Shut it off.
People texting you. Hey, I hear you on the radio.
You sound like shit. You have to tell everybody on the radio what your dad just said.
I know. Hi, Dad. Yeah, my dad said that Chris should be doing the nightly news. He's got a great radio voice. Interestingly enough, we were just talking about that.
Me and Harry Shearer.
So when you're not doing artwork, Chris, what are you doing?
Oh, hang on. I'm just reading my text messages. I got one from my mom. You got one from your dad. I got one from my mom.
Yeah.
Is anybody else listening? I have to say hi to Lee, the Bat fan in Georgia, because he just said, give me a shout out.
I was going to say, my dad's Italian. We should hook him up, but your parents are still married.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the internet. I'm connected with all these other Batman collectors. This guy's insane, though. This guy will go to the store and come back and spread all the shit out on the floor. Look what I just bought. Like 3,000 shoelaces and 14 watches. He's nuts. God. He's a great guy, though. Hi, Lee. Anyway.
Shout out to Lee.
Yeah, my mom and dad are listening. So, hi, Mom and Dad. I miss you out in California.
Aw.
But I'm not coming out there. I'm gonna be Mr. Popular homeboy.
Hi, Mrs. Franchi. Your son used to take me out to the bar when I was underage downtown, by the way.
But I was a gentleman.
Feel free to ground him.
I'm sorry, I stepped on your question. What was the question?
No, that's okay. So when you're not doing artwork, what are you doing? What do you like to do?
Artwork.
Just artwork.
Well, it's funny.
That's awesome, man. I love that passion drives.
Yep.
I just want to do art.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, I didn't. That's an interesting story. For the longest time, I thought artwork was a job. It was work. So I loved what I did. That's what I always wanted to do. If I can make a living doing what I love, which is artwork, that's great. But it sucked the joy out of it in a sense of I didn't want to sit at home and draw things. I always thought if I'm drawing, I'm working. And if I'm at home, I shouldn't be working. I should be relaxing.
Yeah.
There goes my phone again. What a lousy radio guest.
It's your mom.
But only in the past about 2 years, I decided that, there were a lot of things I wanted to do. I always wanted to do this big piece of art that had all the Batman characters from the TV show. I'd never done that, and I finally got a chance to do it. And I got such a great response from it that I'm like, well, this isn't just bringing me joy. This is bringing joy to all these other people, too. So that kind of got me kickstarted into doing all this different stuff that, in my spare time, still doing art, but doing things that I like. Because, day to day, you're not... Yeah, it's fun to do art, but if your artwork is I'm doing a menu for a cupcake shop, that's... How much joy are you getting out of that?
Unless you're getting those Nom Noms cupcakes, because those things are off the hook. My friend Sandy goes there all the time, and they have like a bacon cupcake. And I'm
maple bacon,
oh my God.
Yeah. Nom Nom's Cupcake awesome. Factory in Westland. That was a fun job because I got to do, it's like a Disney place. You walk in there, there's all these little characters I created, this little cupcake princess and cupcake land and all that. It's really fun. It's great place for the kids, for moms to bring their kids and all that and hang out. It's a neat place.
So tell us something that nobody knows about you. What would people be surprised to know about you? Something your mom can hear.
Should I give you the answer I wrote down?
Yeah. What did you write down?
I had to take notes because I'm like, this is going to be a long interview. I should probably make some notes. And I kind of got bored with writing down answers. So the last one that I wrote notes on was number 18. And it says, what would people be surprised to learn about you? And I'm sorry, Mom. But I've never pulled punches and I've never lied. Thanks to you, Mom. So you're going to regret this answer. It just says 22-inch cock.
Hi, Mrs. Franchi.
Surprised to learn about me. Actually, what I've only found out recently is that what people be surprised to learn about me is that I'm a humble guy. I hear a lot, like, when people get to know me recently, they're like, wow, I heard you were an asshole. You're, like, really, like, egotistical and all that. And I had to differentiate with these people. Like, well, no, there's a difference between having an ego and
just being flat out funny, because some of the stuff you post on Facebook kills me, like the bum with the flies around his head,
right?
The guy that came up and asked you for a cigarette at the drive-thru.
We gotta talk about that. Remind me to talk about that in a minute. But people. I think the difference is just being an egotistical asshole, and what I do is just put a value on what I do. Because if you don't, you'll get taken advantage of. If you don't know what your work is worth, then people will just say, will you do an album cover for me? Yeah, we'll give you $200. If you don't know that your album cover is worth $5,000, then you're not going to get $5,000. So I have to look at what I'm doing. I have to look at what everybody else is doing in the industry, put a value on that, and say, okay. Now, if I put a value on that and I think it's high, not high, but reasonable, but everyone else thinks it's high, then they just think you're an egotistical asshole. And it's like, no, it's just good business.
Right.
You just have to know what your worth is. So people are when they meet me, they're always surprised to find out that I'm not an egotistical asshole.
Like, your prices aren't ridiculously off the hook.
Yeah.
I mean,
I still blush, or I don't know if I blush, but I feel blushy if someone says, wow, that's really cool, and they give me a compliment, If I was an egotistical asshole, I'd be, yeah, I know it is,
Exactly. Exactly.
So I would say that's your answer to that.
So what happened with the bum walking up to your car the other day?
Well, I told a friend of mine, Angie, hi Angie and Dave and kids. I told this is just like a series of shout outs. I want $10 for each of these. I told my friend Angie I was going to write a book. I talk to Angie every day on the way to work. She's like my drive time buddy.
Right.
And thank you, Dave, for being patient with that. Most guys would be like, hey, what the hell?
Yeah.
But I'm friends with both of them and all that. So I talk to her every day, and like we always have this thing where, like, she says every time I bitch about somebody on the road or whatever like that, I owe her $5. So I mean, I should probably pay off her house by now. But I told her I'm going to write a book, which I'm doing right now, called "Rants in My Pants." And it's like a bathroom book. Like you sit on the shitter and it's like little 1-page stories that are all, people love negative shit.
Right.
You get online and everyone's like, oh, look at the cute kid playing the guitar and he's only 3 years old, and some asshole will be like, that guy's a fag, he sucks, So people love that stuff. So I figure, well, if I've got a ton of this stuff, I'm always like, kind of going off on rants about these different things. And I thought, I'm going to write a bathroom book that's just 1-page little stories about things, and then put a little doodle at the bottom. So, how intrusive. This guy, I went out to pick up lunch for me and Laura in my office. And I'm waiting in line. I just pull up to the window to the speaker box, and this guy comes up between the speaker box and my window and says, "Hey, man, you got an extra cigarette?" And I'm like, really, dude? I'm trying to order food, and this is your prime choice to try and find a cigarette, is to just get in between me and ordering lunch and ask for something? And then I started thinking about extra cigarette. I'm like, what is an extra cigarette?
Right.
Like, as, luck would have it, I just bought this pack with 21 cigarettes in it. And on the outside, it says, with one free extra cigarette. I don't have an extra one. No. Get out of my face and go, I have an extra bath. Could you use that? So I just, I'm sympathetic to people like that. I'm very fortunate with what I do and all that. I know there's people out there that aren't as fortunate as me, but that's not how you go about it.
What's freaky is that you're sitting in a drive-thru and somebody came running up to your car. I would have freaked out. I mean, really.
This guy was just going down the line.
It's different if you're standing outside of a bar smoking a cigarette, but somebody came run up to your car in a drive-thru.
I've had that happen plenty of times.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
And when
that would scare me.
When you're about to eat, that's the last thing you want to smell is this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not so hungry anymore.
So really, you are writing this book? I think it'd be great.
Yeah, Rants in My Pants.
Because the stuff you put on Facebook kills me. It's freaking hilarious.
I get a lot of shit for that.
How many fans you got?
How many fans?
You got an artist page?
I do have an artist page, which is Metaluna 5 Media, METALUNA, number 5 Media. But I don't put rants on there. I just kind of post artwork and all that, which really needs to be updated. So I'm sorry if you guys are like, I see the same old crap. I really got to dedicate some time to putting some stuff in there.
Yeah, especially some of the newer Batman stuff you've done. You did a Batman illustration with the Joker, and I mean,
the
great.
movie one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. My personal page is where I do all that kind of stuff, and I get a lot of people don't even want to like post on my page because they think that I'll like, so I've always been an open book. I'll say whatever's on my mind. I don't care. I mean, if you're my friend, then you just roll with it. It's never anything
People
bad.
have to know you. Right.
Yeah, it's never anything bad. It's just, I look at things in a different way, and I post about it, and I think it's funny. You go off ranting about some, bum in a drive-through at Wendy's and all that. It's just, it's fun. But, I do get a lot of comments about that. But there's a lot of people that, they'd be like afraid to have a relationship with me because, you're just going to throw it all out there on Facebook.
No, you don't do that on a personal level. You're only just like ripping
treat me like shit, and I will. Which seems to be all I get. But yeah,
and it is not deserved. You've always been a sweetheart to me, always. I mean, and I remember I hadn't seen you in several years, and we found each other on Facebook, and absolute sweetheart, and doing my White Dog Detroit logo.
How much did I get paid for that?
Not much.
No. Oh, I did get paid. See, I was being a smart ass, but you did pay me.
I did.
But it was like the God, I feel bad. I should give that back.
Shut up. No way.
I can't disclose how much it is because I don't want to make me or you look bad.
Exactly.
Either way, so we just want to say anything.
But either way.
Yeah. It was a big favor. That's one thing, like one of your questions here. I'll just segue into that because it's a good time.
Segue.
One of your questions was, what's the worst thing about being you or being what you do?
Yeah.
And I'm going to piss a lot of people off right now.
Friends that want artwork.
People who want favors. Mm-hmm. And I don't mind doing favors, but what people don't seem to realize is that they think they're the only one asking. It's like, no, there's you and literally like 50 other people.
Uh-huh.
Can I get this? My parents are the worst. Mom and dad, damn you.
I do. And what's funny, speaking of your mom and dad, I remember that piece of artwork you did in Mr. Music's class, and that award you won. I remember that.
Yes, 30 years in the making. My mom did not tell me. I did this pencil drawing of this little boy walking through a field, and it won a Hallmark award in high school. And my mom didn't tell me until I gave it away that she wanted it. And I had forgotten who I had given it to.
Yeah.
And it just so happens to be that I had given it to the mother of my first daughter, Caitlin. Hi, Caitlin. Hi, Presley, my beautiful daughters. More shout-outs.
They look just like you, too. They're adorable.
They're more adorable than me. It just so happens that I gave it to her mom. And I was talking to my daughter, Caitlin, about it one day, and she goes, "That's in our basement." And I'm like, "Really? My mom wants that so bad." So we pulled off this little espionage maneuver, and she snuck in every Tuesday night at Rockstar's Bar. My daughter comes in and she hosts a game show with me as a favorite of people who own the bar, because apparently I have a winning personality. I host this thing named That Tune, where we give away fabulous cash and prizes. Come on down. Anyway, she said one day after that, because where we do this at is very close to her parents' house.
Right.
She's going to sneak into the house and go in the basement, take this drawing, and bring it back up to me. So sure enough, like 30 minutes later, she comes back with this drawing, and I went and had it framed really nice and all that, and sent it out to my mom for Mother's Day this year. And it was 30 years, almost to the day, 30 years that from when I had drawn it to when she had received it, and it made her cry.
That's really cool that your daughter could do that.
Yes.
And with Rockstars, you're also hosting karaoke contests up there and stuff as well, right?
No, not hosting. They did right now. They're in the midst of the 2003 Rockstars Karaoke Challenge, and I'm one of the judges.
Okay.
So, there's 3 judges, and they have got a ton of talented people coming through. I think it runs until about mid-July. They pick a winner, and
what's the prize?
$5,000.
Okay, I gotta give my friend Alina a call. She'll win.
$5,000. I'm like, do I get a prize for being like the best judge or something?
So there's a lot of like really great singers out there that are coming in.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're not getting these horrible karaoke people coming in there thinking that they're...
We had made this like really kind of strict guidelines as far as scoring goes as to who's going to move on to the semifinals. One week we had 11 out of 14 people move on to the semifinals. So the semifinal show is going to be nuts. It's going to be like 50 singers, after all the qualifying rounds are done. So, but I do that just because of being in the music industry and kind of knowing. For me, it's kind of more of a visual standpoint, because they're not just graded on singing; they're graded on how they look and how they perform and all that. And my sort of angle from judging is how marketable they are, as a performer.
Right.
One of the other judges, Rachel May, who's a local musician, she's more in tune to the vocal thing, and the other judge, Darren
Counts.
Darren Counts, who was formerly a
here on Robert
show person here, whatever.
Yeah, he was. You know what? He's just so slammed with work from the magazine. For him to get down here once a week. Plus, he's got his band, and he's a single father, and his son is young. So shout out to Darren, great guy, but he couldn't do it with his son being, out of school for the summer and whatever. But
I can tell he's a busy guy, because when he comes down to judge, he's like, once you get that last thing, he's on. All right, see you guys. He's out the door.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what we do there, and that's I guess that's my niche of whatever, the whole marketing aspect and all that. But it's fun. It's a good time.
So Chris, I want to thank you so much for coming in today.
You're welcome.
And, and shout out to my dad. He says you should be on the radio. I think you should be.
Lori's trying to work. She's working on me hard during our cigarette break. She's like, you got to come down and do your own show.
I think you should be. Everybody look up Christopher Franchi on Facebook. His artwork is also on my whitedogdetroit.com website. He's actually got 3 different pages on my website. One for your photography, one for your kiss photos, and another one for your design. Yeah. So if you want to see some stuff that Chris has done.
Very small sampling.
Yeah.
Go to the Facebook page and
Medal of 5 Media.
Right. And my last name is F-R-A-N as in Nancy.
C-H-I.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Franchi. And, anybody out there, if you need artwork or anything, give them a call.
No. Don't call me. I've got
you're slammed. I know
people
you're
on
slammed.
Thanksgiving that get that food piled up on their plate and all that. That's like my plate of artwork.
You know what I used to do too is back when I was at CCS or whatever, I'd have people. Well, will you draw me a picture of a teddy bear, or will you draw a picture of my horse? And you always feel kind of bad, telling people I can't do that. But
well, it takes more time than they think.
People don't realize it's the same thing with websites.
Right.
Hey, can you build me a website?
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sure. Let's just pull it out of my.
Everybody's
head.
like that. I wish I knew like porn actresses. Hey, will you bone me?
I know, exactly. Again, hi, Mrs. Franchi.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, my mom. I promise when I get
probably
home.
used to you.
I promise, Mom, when I get home, I'll start working on that jam label for my dad's fig jam. That's my parents for you. We were talking about everybody asking for favors. My parents are like, your father needs a label for his fig jam. Okay, she'll call me 3 minutes later. Are you done with that label yet? I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm eating dinner.
Your dad's making his own fig jam.
Yeah, Papa Jerry's.
You know what
fig
that's
jam.
really good on? Actually, my friends from Australia turned me on to that, and they took brie cheese and put it on crackers, like really good brie, not the cheap shit. Really good brie, and then you put fig jam on top of that. Like you put the brie in the oven a little bit, and then put the fig jam on top of that. Oh my God!
So you're just eating a piece of cheese with jelly on it?
No, it's not a cracker. Yeah, it's not a cracker or a baguette or whatever you want to put it on.
All right.
It's awesome. You got to try it that way. So it's when your dad sends you some, make sure I get a job.
He already did. I haven't opened it yet. Sorry, Dad.
Really? And then you go out and get yourself a good piece of brie and a nice dessert wine to go with it.
They call jam like preserves or whatever. So is it better with age or does it just get rotten? Is it like wine or is it like cheese? I don't know. I hope it's not going bad sitting on my shelf.
Well, if you've opened it, you should probably put it in the fridge.
No, have not opened it.
Okay.
Have not opened it.
Go get a good dessert wine.
Well, I don't have any brie. Why open it?
Yeah, exactly. Really, go get yourself a good dessert wine, good piece of brie, put some jam on that.
I kind of want to try.
Yeah.
See, now I can't do the jam level because I'm going to go home and have brie and fig jam, apparently.
You could be all fancy. Go get yourself a nice Riesling. Riesling goes good well with that on the way home.
I'll have a nice candlelight dinner with a Batman action figure.
You can always call me. I'll come over. Chris, thank you so much for coming in. You've been listening to White Dogg and Sass. And Sass, I'm sorry. I completely hijacked our entire show because you've hardly said anything.
It doesn't matter.
I feel bad,
inviting Mr. Franchi here.
I know, but I'm also catching up with an old friend.
He's actually got some really cool things to talk about.
I know. I've been catching up with an old friend.
Let the man have the microphone.
Let's do a part 2.
We should. We should do lots of parts because I think you're going to come over here and do your own show, mister. I'm going to talk you into it.
I'll think about it. I need a sponsor.
Yeah.
Goombar Records, Rockstar's Bar.
There you go. All right.
I pitched them today. They could sponsor my show. Why not?
Yeah. Well, shout out to them too because they are a part of the undercard too, who's also here on Raw Radio X.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Good people. They're kind of like the Illiches that nobody knows about in this town.
Yeah.
Greg and Laura Weir. They do a lot of stuff.
Are they Italian? Is that why it's called Goomba?
No, they bought the record company with that name.
Oh, did they?
Yeah,
okay.
But they're very cool people. I love working for them. I have a great time. They do a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
And you know what? They're what's the word? They're providing for a lot of families. They have a lot of employees and all that, and a lot of neat ideas. And they're patient with people and good people to know, good people to work for.
Yeah, well, they're picking out some good bands because we sure do love Pistol Day Parade around here. So,
oh yeah, the new album is killer.
Yep. So thank you so much, Chris. This has been Christopher Franchi on White Dogg and Sass show. Coming up next, we have Ricky Rocks, who's going to be doing a great interview with a sort of famous musician that will be calling in from Detroit. So everybody stay tuned for Ricky Rocks coming up with a special episode. And after that, then Mexican Radio. Again, this has been White Dogg and the Sass. Have a great Friday, everybody. We're out.
See ya.